this afternoon, there is a push for President Akufo-Addo to sack Sanitation Minister Cecilia Dapaah following revelations she stacked in her home millions of dollars, thousands of euros, and unspecified amount of cedis, part of which have been stolen. Now, 5 persons have since been arrested and slapped with charges bordering on stealing and dishonestly receiving funds. We'll take you to Parliament shortly, where NDC MPs have been speaking to Joy News about their desire to have the minister sacked and prosecuted. Right now, though, Legal Affairs correspondent Joseph Akabley joins me with more. So we will be getting into that story by getting Akabley on the line. But we have Kweku Asante, who is joining us live from Parliament. Kweku, you've been in Parliament the whole day. How have the MPs been reacting to this development?
Well, so as expected, this has become such a big issue in the House. In fact, if you go around the coffee shop and you have your ears on the ground, you'd see a lot of MPs, ministers, chit-chatting about the development. There are few MPs who are willing to go on the record. In fact, when it comes to majority MPs, they don't want to speak to this at all, because this is their former colleague in Parliament, and this is someone who is a very popular person within their party, a current minister. But those NDC MPs who have gone on the record with me say that, where did Cecilia Dapaah get that amount of money from? And why is she keeping these amounts of money in her bedroom and not at the bank? They seem to suggest that by virtue of these amounts being in the house and not in the bank, and reports that this money may not have been gotten properly. In fact, they go as far back as citing the case involving a former NDC appointee, Anna John Mahama, who said in a leaked tape that she wanted to make 1 million cedis in politics and then she would leave. And the next day, the president fired her. These NDC MPs say that Cecilia Dapaah is not fit to remain in office. She must be fired. Some say she must be given the opportunity to resign. But if then she does not resign, then the president should crack the whip.
All right. So that's what they feel about this particular matter. But is there anything they intend to do if the president fails to act?
Well, that hasn't come up yet. Normally, those conversations will be had with leadership on both sides, especially the minority leadership, to try and see if it is something that it will escalate to parliamentary level. But I do not sense that that will get to that level. Individual MPs have taken their own initiatives to ask about this, especially since this is the personal life of the sanitation minister. This is the minister, and this is not in any way related to her duties, official duties, as a minister of state or as a former member of parliament. And so that is the concern. And so these NDC MPs demand that the president must dismiss her to show that he is really serious about the fight against corruption, and that keeping Madam Cecilia Dapaah in office sends the wrong signal that a minister can amass that amount of wealth, put it in the bedroom, and it be stolen. We put a question, for instance, about whether or not they are not concerned that this amount of money may be from some private endeavors of the sanitation minister. She may be a business person. Her husband may also be a business person. So how could they have come to the conclusion that this may be because of the husband? They do not want to listen to any of that. They say that this amount of money may have been ill-gotten through corruption, and she must step aside or be sacked. If that instead is ready, we can listen to these 3 NDC MPs who have been speaking about this and their desire to have sanitation minister Dapaah sacked by President Akufo-Addo.
She should be sacked. You think if it was under NDC, that woman will still be in office as we talk? No. It should not be a matter of Madam Cecilia Dapaah resigning. Madam Cecilia Dapaah should be sacked. Simple. Why? Where did she get that money? It's not just even Ghana cedis. Where did she get that money? And accordingly, the cedis is in millions. We are not able to tell how many millions or how much cedis that they took from the house. Millions of cedis, euros, pounds, whatever. The woman should be sacked. We should find out how did she get the money, and before we do those things, she should be sacked.
This morning I read the news, and I think it's unfortunate because I am not much concerned about how she got the money, but with this position, I think she should have deemed it right that such an amount should not be kept at home. Because we are even calling on ordinary people to put their monies at the banks just to also help boost the economy. So if you can hold over $1 million in your house, I think it's a bit questionable. And this, I think, to me, she should do the honorable thing.
Will definitely demand that the minister clears the way, and that will simply mean that she should do the ultimate thing by resigning. Otherwise, the president must compel her to resign.
Very interesting thoughts there from Parliament. Joseph Akable, who is our legal affairs correspondent, joins us via Zoom now. Grateful to you. First, who are these 5 individuals, and are all of them in court because of stealing from the minister?
No, I mean, for some of them, so first, there are 2 house helps of the minister, that is 18-year-old Patience Botwe, and so she has been charged with stealing. The interesting thing is that Patience Botwe is said to have given some of the money she stole to her father, who is Kweku Botwe, and also her ex-boyfriend, who is Benjamin, and her current boyfriend, Malik Dauda. And so Patience has been charged with stealing, whereas the ex-boyfriend, the current boyfriend, and the father have been charged with dishonestly receiving. Then there is the other accused person, Sarah Eje, who is also a house help of the minister. And so that brings the number to 5 in terms of those who have been put before the court in relation to this particular matter.
Do we have a sense of how exactly these huge amounts were stolen?
So they were stolen from her bedroom, which she shares with her husband. In June this year, the minister discovered that some items and money had been stolen. So she reported it to the police. Patience, who is one of the accused persons, the house help, had earlier been found to have entered the bedroom using a duplicate key. So it's at that moment that we are told that the husband actually got home. When he opened the door, he heard some unusual noises and realized that Patience was hiding behind the door. And so he reported the matter to the police. Then they undertook the check and realized that some monies had been stolen. So she was arrested and granted police inquiry bail, because we are told she's a mother who was breastfeeding a child, and so the police granted her bail. At that point, she went into hiding, and together with her boyfriend, we are told she rented a 3-bedroom apartment at Mali at a cost of more than 100,000 cedis, as well as a store at a cost of 120,000 cedis. The police, when they arrested her the second time, managed to retrieve $40,000, and we are told that 72,000 cedis were also retrieved from her. She's also alleged to have bought a house at a cost of $70,000 at Amrahia and furnished it with brand new refrigerator, television sets, as well as other home appliances. Patience is also said to have bought a Hyundai Elantra for her boyfriend, and she also gave her ex-boyfriend an amount of 1 million cedis and her father 50,000 cedis as well. And so that is how come the father and the boyfriend have been charged with dishonestly receiving.
Very interesting details there. Now, tell us about the other items that were seen in the house or part of this particular case.
So, in terms of the other items that were stolen beyond the cash that we've talked about, the dollars and the cedis that we've already spoken about, clothes valued at 95,000 cedis belonging to the minister was stolen. Also, jewelry valued at $95,000 stolen from the residence as well. Then kente cloth worth 90,000 cedis also stolen. Then 6 sets of men's suits. We are told that was valued at $3,000, which are properties of the minister's husband. Well,
if you feel
Joseph Akable for these details. So these are the details of this particular case. Later we'll be speaking to an anti-corruption campaigner on this. But before that, let's bring you other angles to this particular story. We've already taken you to Parliament for you to understand what the members of Parliament are making of this particular development, calling for the minister to either resign on her own accord or the president to act by sacking her. They are also calling for investigations into this particular matter to help unravel the circumstances surrounding which the minister will have over $1 million in her house, euros, and even an unspecified amount of Ghana cedis, to really understand what are the reasons why a woman, the minister, could be keeping these monies in her homes. Some other experts have even spoken about bringing in financial laws, asking that is it legal for an individual to keep such amounts of monies in the home. Other people have brought in the angle of armed robbery, that this will, spark people then sort of targeting some people in society. And there's a lot to this particular story. The news on the street out there, and of course we'll be bringing you some reactions from social media as well, for you to understand how people are reacting to this story. Now, if you go on to Facebook, Twitter, and what have you, a lot more people are communicating or commenting on this particular development. Now, a lot more people are shocked. People are trying to express their thought on this matter. The thing is that a lot more people don't understand how this could be possible. Some people are even bringing in the angle of corruption as well, because they're asking the questions: what work could have afforded the woman to get all of these monies and to be kept in her house? We'll be speaking to Vitus Azim shortly on this particular matter to help us understand, how we could deal with the corruption angle of this matter. How can we even judge that this is a potential corruption-related issue? Vitus Azim, who is an anti-corruption campaigner, will be joining us very, very shortly. But I'll be sharing with you thoughts that people are already sharing on social media. We'll be taking you to Facebook and to share with you some of the comments that people are sharing. Now,
good morning, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for your time. I'm sure you've been following the discussion, and I don't know if you've read the story, but do you think that such an episode involving the sanitation minister and all these monies involved, do you think such an episode opens the door for legitimate questions to be asked concerning, the money, corruption, possibly, and related matters?
Absolutely. First of all, the sums of money and the quantum raises eyebrows, because we do know how much public officers are paid, ministers. We are not expecting millions of dollars and other currencies to just be easily accessible. So that definitely raises eyebrows. There's also the prudence of anybody deciding to keep that kind of money at home. Nobody who is very cautious about security would want to keep that. And why would you, when that kind of money could be earning much more elsewhere? So the prudence and why anyone would want to do that raises eyebrows. Now, the third issue that it highlights for me, recently on the 11th of July, we celebrated 20 years of the AU Convention on the Prevention and Combating of Corruption. One of the articles, and Ghana is one of the signatories to this convention, covers illicit financial enrichment. And it's a part of the convention that, as far as I'm aware, Ghana has not yet codified. In other words, we've not done a corresponding legislation to cover that space, which is the intention. The intention is that once you ratify it, then you're going to say you pick the various articles within the convention and cover it within your jurisdiction. I think that today we've not covered the illicit financial enrichment, which then would cover issues like lifestyle audits, where when something like this comes up, there's a suspicion that the sources of income cannot justify the sums of money being spoken about, then it triggers a lifestyle audit to check how did you get this amount of money. So in my view, this absolutely deserves discussion.
Great. So this matter, as we know it, is before the court. Now, you say that we need to ask serious questions. So, for example, if, assuming we want to bring in the OSP, at which point do you think the OSP should jump in? Now that the matter is in court, or when this aspect is determined, then the OSP can also ask questions of this person involved because the person is a minister of state?
I think that because it is before a court, and unfortunately, we don't know what the substantive issue put before the court was. Sometimes depending on what the issues are, it is possible to still have a discussion around other aspects of a particular case.
Well, the court is dealing with alleged theft because it says that some items had been stolen from the house and a police report was filed and it ended up in court. So essentially, the court is looking at people who allegedly picked items from the minister's house. That's what the court is dealing with at the moment.
I suspect in that instance, if we talk to the lawyers, it will not be interference with the court processes if we spoke about how come that money was in the house in the first place. Because it looks like that's a separate issue. It's just an issue of theft and who picked it and what's going on. Then raising the issue about should that money even be there? Isn't there an issue of potential money spent beyond your income? How come our public officers have that kind of money and it is sitting there? I think that perhaps we need a lawyer to confirm, but I think it's a legitimate discussion that can be held now, since the issue before the court seems to be distinctly different.
You, in your earlier submission, you spoke about the fact that one of the conventions we had not really dealt with was the bit about illicit financing and all of that. If I got you right.
Yeah.
Good. What do you think is hampering our progress on this particular indicator? Why have we not met the targets of this indicator? Why have we not fully incorporated into our laws?
I think that these are areas where, we say good governance is never ever readily supplied. It must be constantly demanded. So those of us in the good governance and anti-corruption space know that typically in jurisdictions where laws have been made and enforced, it takes the rest, civil society, media, to keep reminding government, because what happens is that once they're in position of authority, they are not inclined to do that which holds themselves accountable. So we do need to demand much more, I don't want to use the word alacrity, but much more speed in ensuring that we come up with laws that tighten up those spaces. For example, the Public Officers Code of Conduct bill, which has been hanging around for a long time, because there are elements there that they know will hold them, and so they are not in a hurry to push it. I think this one is it before cabinet or what. So there are elements of these issues which are best practiced internationally that we have not yet codified, and it is for the rest of us as citizens to make enough of a fuss about it, such that they can't, dodge, and not that we go silent after a week or two, to compel these pieces of legislation to be passed. Then something like this immediately, you're asking for a lifestyle audit. How did he get that kind of money? How did he have it in their house? And under what circumstances?